intelligence service requires. People who are thoughtful and private, so they don't reveal the strategies employed by the intelligence service. So private and public thoughts. Now we have unique and common thoughts. Depending on what we fill our minds with, some of the things we think about would be very common. Now, have you ever met people who say, I want to buy a shirt that looks like that one? They saw somebody pass, they want a shirt like that one. But somebody else says, I want a shirt like no other, like the one I've not seen before. Two different sets of thoughts. Now, unique and common thoughts. I wish we had time to work on these things, but we just have to summarize up quick. Unique and common thoughts can have two dimensions. They can build, they can destroy. Now, common thoughts of irrational behavior will destroy, but common thoughts of good behavior will lead us in the right direction. Now, unique thoughts of things that are good, like going to buy a good cloth, can lead us in the right direction. But unique thoughts of a cloth that is out of this world can still lead us into buying a very bad item of clothing. Now, unique thoughts of somebody getting tired of who they are dating or they are married to can lead the same person to go and explore somebody else. Unique. They can lead us in a good direction or they destroy us. Now, another category of thoughts are saving and spending thoughts. Salaries. When you get your salary, what do you think about first? Is it how to spend or what to set aside? What to set aside for future use, or it comes when it's already spent? All you do when it comes is to give out. Does it come when it's already spent, or it comes when part of it is already saved? Saving is a thought. That's what I discovered. We study a lot of financial management, but most of us are in debt. We study accounting, but we are not accountable to our money, because saving is a thought. Spending too is a thought. That's why those who spend without putting thought into spending easily borrow for things that are not worth borrowing for. For instance, I don't consider it worth to borrow to buy a cloth when you already have 20 pairs of clothes. I don't consider it very worth, and especially when it's not a very serious function. And then you borrow, you already run into so much debt to a point that when now you are sick and you are in hospital, when you really need money, you've exhausted all your borrowing capacity. Because we don't put so much thought into borrowing. Now we have real and ideal thoughts. It's in chemistry. I remember we studied characteristics of an ideal gas and a real one. Now, some thoughts in our minds are real, meaning they can be put into action, but some just seem ideal, but are hard to put into practice. For instance, living in a corruption-free Kenya is an ideal thought, but it's not real. It's a very complicated environment in which we live. We are not following the ideals of reality, so it becomes very difficult for us. And one of the things is both of these thoughts are good. Now, we are not categorizing them like this so that we ignore one and follow the other. There are times real thoughts are helpful because then we engage on things that we can actually do and achieve. But there are times we need ideal thoughts because they challenge us to go for things on another level, to keep striving so that we don't think we have reached. For the Bible itself says, he who thinks he is on the right path, let him watch lest he fall. So we need to have the ideal which we should be working towards so that we don't become complacent. Now, in Christian behavior, we can also be complacent, and that's when we begin to mess. So it's good to have the ideal even as we tread on the real, because if we move from level 1, when you are at, let's say, level 2, somebody else is at level 1. They think level 2 is so high, but when they get to level 2, they are thinking of level 3. So there's a level of thought and behavior that looks ideal, but when we strive and achieve it, it becomes real. And then we strive for another level. And that's how we should be making our relationships to work, be it in the social realm or even at work. As we keep improving now, we have hopeful and hopeless thoughts. The Bible always teaches us that the greatest gadget we have is hope. Because it's hope, it's from hope that our character is manifested. Now, Paul the Apostle said, we should be careful to persevere in what we want and in what we need, because that perseverance produces character, which is a set of values we've established over time, and then that character is what manifests hope in Jesus Christ. Now, why does somebody commit suicide when they lose a job, and somebody else who has debts and is being followed up and down doesn't even think of suicide? Hope is the difference. One of them is hopeful that things will get better, and they are probably working towards it. The other one has to think about it. They are worried about the situation right now. So it's always good for this case that we focus on thoughts that give us hope, thoughts that improve our lives, thoughts that ensure that we live our lives the maximum that we can now. Not so much worried about the future, but ensuring we are maximizing the moment that we have. Now we have action-based and wishful thoughts. Now there are people who spend much of their time doing things. They think about something, they do it. They think about it, they do it. They put it into action. But there are people who spend almost all their lives wishing they would have done something or certain things. So there are people who just remain wishful, but there are those who go into action. It is not a problem to be wishful, but wishful thinking is so different from action-based thinking. If we improve our wishes into actions, then goals are achieved. An example, especially when probably some of us who are dating, we remove the wish of who we want to be with and try to sit down and look at our priorities so that we can see how do we become what we want instead of wishing. Because we can spend years wishing, getting into a relationship, getting out, getting happy, getting pissed every minute because of wishful thinking. But if we face the issues, we talk about them, then our wishes turn into actions. And actions are likely to produce results. So what is it that you are wishful about that hasn't become an action? What is that you so wish for that you are doing nothing about? It's important that we put our wishes into action-based thoughts. Now, we have moral and shortcut thoughts. We live in a country which we know so well for shortcuts. And these shortcuts are costing us our social character. They are costing us very much. They are costing us the relationship that we have with our Maker. Kenya is counted among the 20 most religious countries in the world by numbers. But by practice, I don't know how well we are doing. Because what we do so much is engage in too many shortcuts that cloud our ability to remain honest and truthful. And then when we greet people, we say, Bwana asifiwe, the Lord be praised. Moral and shortcut thoughts. Now, the only danger I know with shortcut thoughts is that you have to engage so much in guarding yourself for you to continue with life. You know, the people who get shot at the gate as they go home are those who engage in shortcuts. Because maybe there were people who were messed up or messed around with in the shortcut. Maybe somebody was shortchanged in a deal. These are the people who get shot. And then, you know, getting shot with that shortcut-based thought, having been in the mind, also means we didn't put our lives in place. But those who engage in thoughts of truth, very moral thoughts, even if somebody gets shot, they know that the Redeemer lives, and when he comes for them, they have a better place to go. That's just the danger of what we focus on. And there are times when I thought about shortcuts, I was wondering, if I was born to do everything my parents took 30 years to do in a year, what would I be doing for the next 29 years? God has a reason why we go in steps, because there are many lessons we learn as we keep going the steps. But most of the time, if we jump those steps, then we will not enjoy the going. We'll find more time to engage in other amoral thoughts, which lead to a moral behavior that can cut short our lives or our lifespans. Now, we have